Kamloops Mayor seems to be doing everything he can to try to get answers and a solution for his citizens, which are understandably concerned about a sweeping Aboriginal title claim that's before the courts over the entire city. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, bringing you an interview with Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson for an update. In case you missed it, British Columbians aren't quite clear on what property rights mean in this province anymore, thanks to the BC Supreme Court's decision that was handed down in August, ruling that Aboriginal title is superior to fee simple lands, private-owned lands, in a portion of Richmond. Now, that was the Cowichan versus Canada case. Many of you know about it. We've covered it quite extensively. And many of you also know that just like in the case with those Richmond residents who were in the dark while their land was being up for grabs, and it seems everybody, at least who should be looking out for them, the federal government, the provincial government, and the municipal government, knew this was all being fought for when they didn't. Well, that same thing has been happening in Kamloops, where residents have recently found out that the entire city is up for grabs for Aboriginal title, as is the nearby Sun Peaks resort area. Now, recently I interviewed Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson, who, unlike when I interviewed the Richmond Mayor, Malcolm Brodie, says that he actually knew nothing about the case until recently when everybody else was finding out, and that ever since he's been trying to get some answers for the public. And more recently, it seems, action. He has approached one of two signatories on the case, and that is the former chief of the Kamloops Nation. That nation is now head by Chief Roseanne Casimir, but before it was by Shane Gottfredson. So he's reached out to him since his name is on there. The other chief from the neighboring nation, his name is Ron Ignacy. And Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson says that he has actually asked Mr. Gottfredson whether he'll just drop the case. Can we talk about it without it being in the courts? So we're going to talk to him about why he's doing that, whether or not he's heard from Chief Roseanne Casimir. But before I do that, I want to talk about something that stands out to me about this case. This case, much like the Cowichan versus Canada one, is a decade-old case. And the intent behind the claim, according to the bands, is that it's unceded territory, and they were in opposition to the Ajax mine project that was supposed to take place. But what's interesting is that project was shut down rather quickly after this. In fact, it was shut down in part due to Indigenous consultation. And yet this case still lives on years and years later and hangs over the citizens. And also the area that was being claimed, the entire city, is much broader than that the Ajax mine project was even going to be affecting. So two interesting things about that. But let's hear from Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson about his efforts to try to find another way to move forward here. Last time we talked, you had just found out yourself about the Aboriginal title claim over Kamloops as a whole. Since then, now that a couple of weeks have passed, what, to the best of your knowledge, do you think this means to your constituents?
Well, my constituents have been reaching out to me, a lot of them, different realtors and a lot of different people. Yesterday alone, I had one realtor said that he had 3 people that were searching for houses, and now they've told them to stop searching and things like that. So I just want to get more clarity and get everybody together. And, again, I've asked, former Chief Shane Gottfredson, who filed the claim in 2015, September, if he'd consider looking at, withdrawing the file and seeing if we can work together collaboratively without it being in the courts right away, and just get more clarity for everybody and working together so that we can all start to get things. We got such a divide going on these days, and we need to try to get that stopped. There's been a lot of work being done with First Nations, especially in Kamloops, with many different chiefs, and I just think we need to sit down and work together with the bands and our TNRD, because that's part of the Sun Peaks area, and obviously the provincial government and the federal government. I think it'd just be great to try to work together.
Now, you said you spoke with the former chief then, who I guess you have good relations with.
Yeah.
Have you heard back anything? And how did you reach out to make that proposal of, hey, can we work on some sort of agreement outside of the courts?
Yeah, I just put it forth to him, and we'll see what happens. And again, I think that it's a bigger scope of things, and I think that if we just need more clarity, so that people aren't concerned, because there's people concerned. There's real estate companies that are having meetings and things like that, and again, I'm getting a lot of calls from citizens of the community, and they're concerned. So if we can just all get together and get it more clarified, and again, if it could be withdrawn, that'd be great, and sit down at the table and all work collaboratively together and try to get things sorted out in a different way.
What were some of the takeaways that you could maybe let others know that you got from that information session?
Well, I mean, it's clear that nobody's going anywhere, but I think that after listening to Cook B. Cashmere on CBC Radio, it looks like they want to have title of properties, and again, I think we got to be open and transparent and let everybody know what that means. So again, I'd really like to work together and get clarity on what that means. What's the end goal here?
All right, so please do keep us posted on whether or not you hear back about if there is any way to deal with this outside of the courts. Thanks for being back on Rebel News.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Now, since I've done that interview with Hamer-Jackson, I've received an update by reading this article here by Armour Mayor. In it, you see that former Chief Shane Gottfredson has said no, he will not be withdrawing their interest in the case, although he's open to discussing with the mayor, some options. He's saying, why do I have to drop the case to do that? The case is still merit. Again, I'm confused as to why it's not moot. I'll look into it a little bit deeper. And so I reached out for comment to Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson about his thoughts to that. And his response to that was that Shane didn't want to go to a Stanley Cup party with him in the past, and he feels like Shane thinks that's a good idea, and that he doesn't quit so easily. So I guess he's going to keep trying again to get more answers and some sort of solution. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, and I'll continue to follow this story. Well, one thing is for certain. The uncertainty of these Aboriginal titles is causing division, not reconciliation. If you think things need to be brought back to the table, go and sign our petition called endlandgrabs.com.